Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the World Banknotes highlights for the auction on 28th of April starting at 2 p.m. British Summer Time, where we're going to have 315 lots, and out of which we have selected quite a few examples that we'd like to present to you today. And I will start with Palestine, £100, a holy grail of Middle East banknotes, issued in 1st September 1927. Only 3 of these banknotes were offered in a public auction in the last 20 years. Grade is 15, authenticated by PMG. On the back it says perforation cancelled. It is well visible here. The letter D unfortunately is missing. However, for this rarity, it is certainly acceptable. And the side is a little bit trimmed, not affecting the design too much. One of interesting factors about this banknote is obviously it's 1927, first issue for the Palestine Currency Board as a board. Very interesting fact that £100 was the salary for governors of Palestine Currency Board for a year. So entire year's salary was here in £100. Only few examples have survived. There are a couple known in private hands, and as I say, one of the biggest rarities and greatest discoveries in the last 10 years for the Middle East banknotes. Continuing with the series, we have £10 Palestine, issued in 1927. What a surprise, it's a consecutive set. Very high grade, 55. Actually, the highest grade on PMG census is 58 EPQ, and there's only one banknote with that grade. So this is the second highest grade, consecutive, beautiful design, exactly the same design as the £100, and very well preserved, and of course encapsulated with PMG. Continuing with Palestine series, we have £5, also consecutive. Very presentable grades, and an interesting fact, the prefix F. This is a scarce prefix for £5, and of course it is a rare set and very well preserved, beautiful, and definitely one of the highlights for any Middle East collection. Moving into smaller denominations, we have £1, 1939. Very high grade, graded 65 PPQ. Beautiful, beautiful example. Interestingly enough, as a different lot, subsequent lot, we have consecutive example to it. So these are 3 lots we have already, or 4 lots, as consecutive banknotes for Palestine. It's almost unheard of to find these banknotes in uncirculated condition. Here we are, we have 2 of them, 65 PPQ and 63. Also, something very interesting that you wouldn't notice generally. Grade 40, you would think, why is that 500 mils here? Actually, there's a very good reason for that. This is the last prefix, prefix K. L prefix wasn't issued. And if you pay good attention to it, you will see that it is issued in 1945. All the previous Palestine banknotes, £100, 10, 5 and 1 we have shown you, were issued as a last date in 1944. However, probably due to being lowest denomination and being handled multiple times through the hands, there was a reason to issue 500 mils in a later date. In 1945 is the latest issue of Palestine Currency Board, and it is here as a prefix K in 500 mils. Now I will allow Elaine to share some of her highlights.
As much as always a World Banknotes auction, we don't forget about the British notes. And we're starting with a good one today. We've got a line and key £5 with the O'Brien signature. This one is an A01 first issue with number 40. So the lowest number seen in public sort of for the past sort of 15 to 20 years is number 3 and then number 7. So actually number 40, line and key, this is the lowest one that you can get. Extremely popular over the past couple of years. Everyone seems to want one. I mean, if you look at design with sort of Britannia of the helmet sort of on the left, and you've got the line and the key at the back, hence his namesake. I mean, why wouldn't you want one? So I think a lot of people do know that sort of prior to charity auctions, low number notes are generally given to various sort of dignitaries in the UK. Notably, number 1 is given to the Queen, and then number 2 was given to the late Duke of Edinburgh. So this was obviously sort of issued in the sort of late 50s, early 60s, prior to the charity auctions. Number 40, the third lowest one you can get. As a British collector, sort of pretty much any Commonwealth collector, I wouldn't miss this note.
Here we're going to Sudan, lot 291, 10,000 dinars. And you might think why this note is here included in the highlights. Actually, it's quite a rare note. Do not get mistaken by the grade 25. Up until 2014 in PIC, it was listed as PIC 60, unissued, and there was only specimen displayed for a good reason, because an issued note was not known. Up until very recently, this was found. This is the only issued example known to us. If you look on the label, it says unissued. Well, it is unissued because no issued were found. However, this is a note with serial numbers, though the series was never issued. Probably most of the notes were destroyed. It is open to speculation why there are no issued notes, only specimen. However, clearly this one made out to the hands of collectors, and here it is. Not in a very good condition, but still the only known.
Moving on to India from Sudan, we've got a King George V India 100 rupees issued in Bombay. This one is, as many collectors will know, that of many of these earlier British India notes, there are various branches. This one is the Bombay branch. I think a lot of people will see the sort of the Rangoon issue sort of with the overprints, and then you see a lot of issuing outside of India, like sort of Rangoon is now that is not in India anymore. And then now we have sort of there's other Karachi, sort of Lahore branches outside of India. Notably, it's got King George V wearing the crown of India as a portrait. That's the portrait used for the whole series. Actually, he only worn the crown once, and it was actually made for his visit to India with Queen Mary in 1911, and he never wore it since and never wore it again. I think that's a great portrait of him, and then I think the colour purple and green is not a usual combination for notes for any sort of India or sort of Commonwealth collectors. I think this is a classic, a true sort of King George V banknote classic.
Here I have the classic Bird series of Singapore, the highest denomination ever issued in Singapore, $10,000. Very beautiful banknote, of course a specimen, difficult to obtain. As issued or a specimen in any form, graded 64, and this is the second highest grade in PMG census. If you look in the back, it has small remarks saying previously mounted. However, the traces are not very well visible, and it is a very presentable banknote. Also, I would like to draw your attention that this is serial number 3. So very early in the printing process, this was given, and here we go. It is now going to be passed in the hands of collectors.
So now moving on to something we don't see very often, moving on to French Africa, we've got a Madagascar specimen 1,000 francs. This note, I think, as soon as someone sees it or holds it in their hand, I think it's just a striking note. Large size with sort of pink and orange, with the blue stands out. If you look at the back, doesn't have as much colours, but equally striking. For this sort of note, issued notes, extremely difficult to find in any presentable grades. For specimens, a lot of them you will see perforations, and a lot of them won't be sort of this perfect without any overprint, any perforations. So as far as this Madagascar 1,000 francs go, I think this is probably the nicest example there is out there.
This banknote I could not miss an opportunity to talk about because it's very keen to my heart. And this is Lithuania 10 liter issued in 2001. Quite a low serial number, though it portrays something very interesting to Lithuanian history. And the two people shown on the banknote are two pilots from Lithuania, held as national heroes, that in 1933 flew from New York to Kaunas, one of the biggest cities in Lithuania. And well, they tried to make the transatlantic flight, one of the first ones to make. They had mail on it as well to make one of the first transatlantic flights with airmail, and they made it very successfully with no refueling. And unfortunately, 600 miles just to Lithuania, they crashed in Germany, and unfortunately both of them have died. So people who waited for them in Lithuania for their arrival have never seen them, unfortunately. And then a couple of months later, their bodies were passed from Germany to Lithuania, where they had a glorious funeral. and I just wanted to share it. Also, an interesting thing, it's 67, and this is the second highest grade known on PMG census.
Last but not least, after the huge success, record-breaking Zanzibar we had in January earlier this year, this time for our April auction, we've got a 5 rupees. The 1908 issue is the first issue after 5 rupees. Generally, with these notes, we don't really talk about the serial numbers because Zanzibar notes, rare as they come, the zero numbers often don't matter. But this one, I do feel like I have to speak a little about it. It's serial number 1005. We believe, as far as we know, this is the lowest number seen. Actually, even the 4-digit serial number is actually quite rare. The owner of this note sort of got given this when he was just a boy, and he kept it sort of for years and years as a memento of him sort of going on holiday in Zanzibar and just something to remember the island by. So as well as the numerous highlights we just showed you earlier, more can be viewed on our website, spink.com, and of course on our app on Spink Live. And as well as the auction on the 28th of April, we've got an e-auction that is starting on 19th of April and finishes on the 3rd of May. And then after that, we've got the charity auction of the Polymer Bank of Scotland, £100. As usual, all proceeds going to charity. So this time they've not used the bridge, sort of as this bridge series. I would go online to just see what design they've used. I think it's a great note. We think the colour is amazing. The size is
quite a phenomenal design, actually. Very striking.
Yeah, we loved it, honestly, just after seeing it. Last but not least, in our sort of spring auction season, rounding off with the British Banknote e-auction from the 5th of May to the 19th of May. Hope you enjoyed us sort of talking a little bit about the banknotes, and we hope to see you soon and wherever that might be.
Bye.